who is going to interview the one and only Mr. Dean Cain.
How about that? Huh?
Yeah.
Well done, Dean. Yes, sir.
Where we at, kids? I'm handing you this one. We got these two chairs.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Phil. Hi, everybody. Thank you. How's it going? There's my guy, Finn. Ah, yes. And my 11-year-old friend as well. All right. How's everybody today? Everybody? You look a little bit under the weather, ma'am. No, it's the skull. We can see the skull. Your hair's on fire. But other than that, you're well. Everybody having a good time? Yeah. I see a lot of familiar faces out there that I've already spoken with a bit today. That's cool. All right. Did you have any questions, Finn? No. Oh, good. I was talking to Finn because he's smiling now. He's awesome. I was talking, not you, Chris. I'm sorry. We'll get to you. I promise. I promise. You go ahead.
I think what we're gonna. Yeah, I'm okay. I've got a loud mic. I'm Jim Sullivan. I'm the host here. I'll be talking to Dean for the first part of this. And I think from what we were talking about in the green room, we're basically just going to talk college football scores, I think.
Perfect.
Perfect. So if you're okay with an hour of who's up, who's down, we'll be on the
I'm okay with that. Anybody knows that I'm good with that.
So but seriously, we'll do, I don't know, whatever amount of time here, and then we'll open it up to the floor. And I'll just start with something that I discovered in doing the research for you. Your given surname was Tanaka.
Yes.
Correct?
Yep.
Were you related, or did you know the great Professor Toru Tanaka?
Who was the great? No, I don't think so. Which Toru Tanaka was that?
He was a famous wrestler of the 70s. You've got to look him up then. Okay, you've got to look him up. When I was growing up as a kid, he was one of those wrestlers who came to Bangor, Maine, my hometown. Anyway, so I just couldn't help but ask.
I don't know that side of my family, so it's possible. It's definitely possible.
Let's see, Superman. How many Superman projects have you been involved in?
Oh, wow. Obviously Lois&Clark, where I played the guy. I did Smallville as well. And I play Supergirl's father now, so that's 3. I got 3. Oh, I also do the voice of Jonathan Kent on DC Girls, that's 4. Oh my gosh, it's starting to add up, isn't it? At least 4. Are there more?
I don't know, but that's a pretty good. Right. So
what about these chairs, by the way? What about these?
I know. Well, the thrones.
That's why it's the throne room. It's kind of cool.
That's right. When you were growing up as a kid, who was your favorite Superman?
Well, when I grew up, there was one Superman in the world, and that was Christopher Reeve, and he was my Superman. No. Christopher Reeve was my Superman. I believed a man could fly. I saw all that stuff, and I was like, that's amazing. It bothered me that Clark Kent had to be such a klutz. That's a good word. I was looking for a word that I could find that was good. We'll go with klutz. That bothered me because I just wanted him to be more like the George Reeve Superman. Actually, Clark Kent. That for me was more how I played the character.
The George Reeves
character.
Probably, I love George Reeves. I grew up on that. I'm a bit older than most people here probably. But tell people what George Reeves did and how that was affected your character.
Oh, well, I did watch that. I was aware of that.
It was a Superman TV show.
Right? Oh yeah, it was a Superman TV show back in the 50s, I believe.
In the 60s, I think.
In the 50s and the 60s. Yeah. I know that Jack Larson, who played Jimmy Olsen on that show, was on our show, so I got to hear really good stories. Maybe I'll share one or two.
Yeah.
They took really late lunches. Let me say that because when they come back from lunch, possibly the guy who wears the S might have been a little bit more inebriated. I don't know. Some real interesting stories. It was a different time back then too. But I watched the way the way that George Reeves played Clark Kent, and I thought that was cool. I liked that. I enjoyed that he was just sort of a guy, and a regular man, but he wasn't a pushover. He wasn't trying to hide that. You had to buy into for Superman and Clark Kent. You got to buy into the fact, just like they do on Supergirl. It's the glasses. That's it. You gotta buy it.
Did the glasses fool you?
Totally fooled me.
Yeah, oh my God, who is this guy?
Yeah. But see, on Supergirl, I gave her the glasses. So I was in on the joke. I caught that one. But I confused all the time when I put the glasses on. I didn't know who I was. I think it's something you have to buy into. I mean, if you're going to believe a man can fly, you might as well buy into the fact they can't recognize him with glasses or without. What do you think, Finn? You agree? Yeah, buddy. Yeah, there we go. So that was the kind of thing where it made a lot of sense. But the George Reeves version of Clark Kent and then the Christopher Reeve version of Superman for me was kind of an amalgamation of what I ended up playing on Lois and Clark.
I remember when I got my first Superman costume when I was a kid, there were instructions on it that said, "This suit does not make you fly, only Superman can fly."
That's a very good piece of information because a lot of I've heard, I get to go to these cons quite a bit now and I hadn't forever, and I can't tell you how many stories I've heard of people who've broken a leg, when I was a kid I tried like, you didn't read the instructions, did you? That was it. Yeah, you hear those stories all the time. Fortunately I never did that myself. I knew I couldn't fly.
That leads us into, well, sort of obliquely, but I'll go there. Injury. You were...
That's a very oblique.
Well, but an injury that actually happened. You were an aspiring football player, and you were, I believe, signed by the Buffalo Bills. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
What
I know there's a lot of Patriots fans out here, but and you guys are doing well this year. I'll be honest. Now that Tom's back, he did great. 3-1 without him. It's pretty amazing.
Gronk is gone, though.
Yeah, it's tough, and it's tough getting older and coming back from injury. And I hope he has a very successful surgery. Comes back, he's a heck of a football player.
Sure is. What happened with you? What injury derailed your football career?
For me, it was my right knee. I tore my lateral meniscus and blew a piece of the bone out. That's not something. No. That's not a good thing, buddy. You and I are gonna have words after this, buddy.
Well, maybe he's cheering you because if you hadn't done that, maybe you wouldn't be an actor.
Good point.
Trying to help you out, kid.
I was trying to do both, man. I was trying to work them both out, buddy. Yeah, exactly. So my right knee. So I had surgery, and Bill Polian was then our general manager, and he took me in and said, "Dean, you have to have surgery, and after you're done, we'll put you on waivers. If nobody claims you off the waiver list, you'll be back here next year." And I felt very confident in my ability to play for Buffalo, and it was a bummer because it was just for the first preseason game. And I always considered myself a gamer, and practice was practice, and then you try to do your best in practice. And I did well in practice, but I feel like something would have happened in a game. Something happens when you're in the middle of a game. It's like anytime you have a military plan or a boxing match, something you always hear, everybody has a great plan until you get punched in the face. And plans never end up working, and you always have to fall back on your training. I was hoping that would happen, and I would get a chance to do that in our first game was Houston, and I was really angling for that. But they wanted me to have the surgery beforehand, so I had the surgery, and it turned out that I had a defect in my knee that wasn't going to heal, and that I had to find something else to do.
What position did you play?
I played free safety.
So you're
Defensive
fast.
back.
You're fast.
We're fast, yeah. A couple decades ago.
What did you run, the 100 and the 40?
We never ran the 100. We never ran the 40.
40 yard, yeah.
You know what? I didn't run it for Buffalo. They didn't ask me to run a 40. They got me out there and put me on one of the receivers and said guard him, and I did. And then a kid named Bernard Ford came in who ran the fastest 40 in combines. He didn't go to I didn't go to the combine camp, but he ran it in the combine. So the first thing I did was guard him in man coverage, and if he couldn't get behind me, they figured I was okay. And he couldn't get behind me, so we were okay.
How did your acting career evolve out of the football career going away?
Well, I grew up the son of a director, a filmmaker. So I grew up in Malibu, California, with a bunch of kids whose families were involved in the business, and it's sort of anything. Like if your dad was a carpenter, you're going to know how to do things with wood. And my dad was a film director, and the kids that I grew up with, Charlie Sheen, Emilio Estevez, Rob Lowe, Sean Penn, Chris Penn, Holly Robinson, all of these guys were, ended up involved in the film industry. In fact, my dad directed a film with most of them called Young Guns. He produced and directed that film and put all these kids in it. They were still calling him on the set, Mr. Cain, or Coach, because he was our coach for like baseball and football and stuff. It would have been odd to see that. Hey, Coach, what do I do here? Action. So it was interesting to watch those guys go ahead of me, and I was still in college. None of those guys went to college. They all went into the acting world, and I went in and went to school and became a football player.
You went to Princeton, I
Yes,
think,
sir.
right? Yeah.
Princeton University.
Pretty good school.
Jersey. Yeah, I think it's all right.
You got stuff going on up there?
No, not a whole lot.
Okay.
Not used to. Not used to. So it was interesting to watch all these guys work in that field, and I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. I would play pro football, be a student and play pro football eventually, and getting hurt. Well, actually, even before I got hurt, I was looking at what my friends would do for their internships for the summer from Princeton, and they would go to the city and they'd work on Wall Street and they'd wear a suit and work 80 hours a week, and I thought, that sucks. That really sucks. I was like, this does not look like fun for me. And the summers in New York City, it's just, and I was like, why would I want to do that? And I'd go visit my dad's film set. I was like, this is much more fun. Yeah, well, look at this, and every day was exciting and fun. I thought I would rather be there doing this than working on Wall Street. Now, some of my friends became like billionaires and stuff like that, so maybe I screwed up. But it was interesting to watch that, and I just wouldn't be able to have that sort of lifestyle. So I knew kind of midway through college that I wanted to work in film and television, and I wasn't sure what capacity. You think that's funny, Finn? You and I are going to go at it, buddy. I got you by a couple pounds in a couple years.
Yeah,
you keep talking that smack, buddy. It's going to happen.
Yeah, but if it comes to if it comes to drooling, you'll get you.
You'll get me for sure. It was like, oh. So I figured that was a career that I was more interested in. Then going to that corporate life, that didn't seem like something that really appealed to me. And I'm glad I made the choice. I'm very glad I made the choice, and quite happy with the way my career is going.
Obviously, one of the risks you take when you decide to become an actor is, am I going to work consistently, through my early years into later years, et cetera. Did you weigh that at all? Were you thinking about, my God, I don't have security here, but I have maybe talent? Exactly
what I think. The truth is, when you're young like that, you don't think about security. Security? What? No way. The longevity. It makes perfect sense what you're saying.
Yeah,
I had
yeah.
that same conversation.
Looking back, yeah.
With a young actor, I would say the same thing. But at that time, I didn't think about security or anything like that at all. I was happy I got a little bit of money from Buffalo. I had a little bit of cash, and I was like, all right, what do I want to do? I want to screenwrite. I want to work in film. So I'll start to build up some sort of a resume. I'll start writing things. I'll start doing television commercials, which I did about 40 in about 4 years, which was great. I made a life doing commercials.
Let me stop there. What was your best and/or goofiest commercial?
Oh my gosh. They show up on YouTube now. They do. I've seen a few of them. By the way, Twitter, let me say about Twitter. Like, I've seen things on Twitter that people have put out that I was in that I could never find. And thank you. Because some of those people are in this room, and I appreciate it. Yes, Janine, I'm talking about you. It's incredible. I'm like, whoa, I remember that. I thought that was gone. I don't know where you find those things, but it's amazing, and thank you. There's a picture of me playing for Buffalo when Marv Levy passed away. When Ralph Wilson, who was the owner of the Buffalo Bills, passed away, somebody posted a picture of him walking with Bruce Smith after practice, who's also Hall of Fame, and they're walking there off the field after practice, and then over in the corner is me. I was like, hey, that's me. I'd never seen the photo. That kind of stuff is amazing. So, I don't know. I mean, I played volleyball with Tony the Tiger. We won. He's a good setter, actually. I was surprised. I got Diet Coke commercials, Dr. Pepper commercials. There's I did a nacho cheese Doritos commercial, and I just say, you sit there and you smile and you go, cheese. My brother, to this day, will make fun of me for that commercial. I'll be like, hey, can I have this? She's like, cheese. I'm like, that's thing. But those things are great. Those are great. They're great fun to look back on. But I did, a good 40 of them. I was happy to have a job.
Sure.
And happy to be doing something. It was nice. Doing the commercials sort of segued into doing some guest starring roles in television. Life Goes On was one of the first things I did. Then I did Beverly Hills 90210 for sure. But there was another one. The first one. Oh my gosh, the spin-off of the Cosby, Different World. Great, thank you. I don't know why I forget that, because it was 28 years ago, or whatever it was. That was a great step forward. Doing those things, then also it sort of segued into getting a shot to play Superman. That was great.
Talk about how that happened. I mean, I imagine that would be a role a lot of people were up for. What did you do to win that role?
They put 6 of us in the room, they shot us all, and I'm the only one who survived.
Did you have to shot you in the chest?
Everyone else went down, I'm like, I guess I'm the guy.
The bullets bounced right off.
No, it went in, but I survived. No, that process was interesting because there's a time as a young actor you're trying to act, you're trying to do different things, and you're working hard, and then you start to kind of move your way up, and you see the same faces, and it's interesting because these faces all end up doing pretty well eventually, but it kind of weeds out as you go forward. You start seeing the same faces, same guys, same 8, 6, 10 guys, and then there was Melrose Place was coming out, and Mr. Spelling was trying to get me to maybe be part of that. I wasn't sure if I was quite ready. I can't really recall what was going on. I think Andrew Shue beat me out for that thing. Damn Andrew Shue. Then this Superman, they're redoing a Superman. They're doing Lois&Clark, and I remember thinking to myself, because no superhero shows were on at the time at all back then in the early 90s, nothing. And the idea of rehashing that was like, ooh, it's gonna be ridiculous. It's not gonna be well received. It won't happen. Amy, hey, there you go. You're getting ready to get married. Congratulations. It was a weird thing that Superman was gonna be getting remade. And I remember reading the script, and I thought that's a really good script. It's not quite what I thought Superman was going to be. It's really about Lois and Clark, and it's about the young Clark, and he becomes Superman to sort of hide his identity so he can be a regular guy. I said, this is a very different incarnation, and I liked it a lot. Right. So I started the audition process. I was the first person they saw. The producers, they sat down. I was the first person to walk in a room. It was about, the room was probably about the size of this stage right here. I came in, there were 3 people sitting on a couch, Deborah Joy Levine, Bob Butler, and I don't know who the other person was that was there. And I came in, and they said, "Nice to see you." It was probably a casting person, and they had a little camera going. And I said, "I read the script last night. I thought it was great. I think I might have a different take on it." Bob Butler goes, "Okay, let's see." We sat there, read the script, read the scenes, and he said, "Thank you." Went out I went. And normally you hear something pretty quickly about, "Hey, it went well. They like you." I heard nothing. I figured, okay, just scratch that one off. I didn't get it. And about 2 weeks later, I was at a party. Or 3 weeks later, and there was a party, and someone said, "Hey, I work for casting over at what was then Lorimar Television, and they really like you for this." And I was like, "What?" My buddy came and told me that first, and then this casting associate came over. Next thing you know, I was going through the audition process a lot more, and they were wheeling it down smaller and smaller, and there were fewer and fewer of us. And then finally, it went to network, and I was able to, at that time, I was starting to get different options, different offers. So I had about 3 different shows I had a chance to test for. But I chose Superman, put that in first position, and I went in and I read for it. There was 2 of us left at the end, two Supermen, if you will. It was myself and Kevin Sorbo. And I figured Kevin Sorbo has blonde hair. I got this thing. I'm walking away with it. It was mine. It was actually, we went through the process, and it turned out that I got it, which was a lot of fun. And then I was just nervous I couldn't do the job. Then I was nervous I was going to be exposed for the weak actor that I was. And I was like, oh no. I was terrified. It's one of those things, and it's like anything in life. You look at something, you go, I'm terrified of it, and I'm not sure I can do it. But when you go out and you do that and you step out, and that's when you really learn. That's when you really stress. That's when you really achieve.
What did you think your weakness was?
Inexperience. I wasn't experienced enough to be out there carrying a show, having my character be the one everybody wanted to watch. I didn't know if people would like me. You just don't know if you're going to be likable on camera.
Right.
You just don't know. Sometimes you see like these real life romances, like these people are a real couple in real life, and then they get on screen together, and you're like, this is boring. Right. That's just the kiss of death for that relationship, isn't it? It's tough, and other times, you put people together and they have a great chemistry. Like Terry and I ended up with a great chemistry on camera, and you just don't know if that's going to translate. Right. And if you did know that, then you'd be the lead casting person in all of Hollywood, because a lot of times you just don't get that chemistry. And when you get a great chemistry like that, it's lucky.
Was it immediate, or did it take time to develop?
For me, I was along for the ride, so I don't know. Terry was much more of a seasoned actress than I was as an actor, and so I was just trying to survive through that whole first bit, and then it started becoming easier and more fun. It's you're doing it 18 hours a day, all day long, 5 days a week. And really, it kind of is like 5.5, 6 days a week in a 7-day schedule. You get the weekend off. End up working what we call Fraturdays, the Friday into Saturday until the light comes up on Saturday morning. And then you start working at 6 a.m. on Monday morning. You finish at 7 in the morning on Saturday. They're doing that on Supergirl now, and I feel bad for them, but not that bad.
Oh, how about the role on Supergirl? I mean, that must have been a kick to kind of be cast as you're the dad. Is that right? The old guy, the old dad. Oh, he used to be
Mine
Superman.
just saying the dad, didn't have to say the old part. That's it. Yeah, that's interesting. Greg Berlanti, who's one of the exec producers of that and Flash and Arrow and DC Legends of Tomorrow. Greg Berlanti did a film way back 10, 15 years ago called The Broken Hearts Club that I starred in with a number of other young actors, Tim Oliphant, Zach Braff. There were all kinds of different, guys, Justin Theroux. We were all in this thing. It was a great story. And that film was the first time I met Greg. Well, Greg has gone on. He was an exec producer of Dawson's Creek and Everwood and different things. And he's doing all these shows. So I got a call that, they're like, hey, Berlanti wants you to come in and play the dad on Supergirl. I was like, okay, let's do it. I'll be the dad now. So it is odd to go in and be the father as opposed to be the superhero. And it's fun though. And I've been on the show this season. For those who are keeping up with the show, I did save her. And I may be on some more. But I can't say for sure.
Right.
But I'll probably be there somewhere maybe near the end of the season. Whatever, I don't know when, but maybe near the end, I'm just saying.
It's always flashbacks too, right?
There are
You never know.
flashbacks. You will see me.
No one can hear that, right? Absolutely. Just whispered it to me. That's
I'm
right.
definitely going to be on the show.
This is obviously Comic-Con, mostly about comic type things, but you've done some serious stuff too. One thing I wanted to ask you about, I don't know if it's out, but the Gosnell movie?
Yes.
Can you tell people a bit about that and what its status is?
I did a film called Gosnell, which is based on the story of Dr. Kermit Gosnell, who's the Philadelphia abortion clinic doctor who is in jail for 3 counts of murder, and I can just go on and on and on and on and on for what he's in jail for. The account is just shocking what he was doing. It was illegal. And we shot the film summer, last year, maybe even the year before. I can't even recall at this point in time. And it's I played Detective Jim Wood, who was the detective, excuse me, who sort of uncovered all that was going on. It was actually a drug bust that led to this guy. And what he was doing was, it was just a sort of a butcher. He was a mad, crazy butcher. The idea of human life meant nothing to him. It was he's really a sociopath, and it's frightening. The story, we shot it in Oklahoma City, which was supposed to look like Philadelphia, which was hard to do if you spend any time in Oklahoma City. But it's a really, I think it's a really powerful film. I can't wait for it to come out, but I don't know when. There's been some things going on lately where they're saying that people are having trouble wanting to distribute it because of the subject matter. But those are the kind of things that need to be out there and be told. So I'm sure we'll find some place to get it out there, and hopefully it gets out soon. But it's certainly it's not an easy subject matter to watch, but I think it's very important, and hopefully people will get a chance to see that film.
I'm guessing it's pretty grisly then. I mean,
It's really grisly, and we even toned it down from what really took place. And we have all of the court proceedings. We know everything, and we've seen everything, and it looks a lot like the original clinic, and a lot of the things that we saw. I don't want to say specifically some of the stuff that was in there because it is disturbing. There are some young folks here, and it's just not a great thing to hear about. But as adults, I think it's an important film that people should see because it's something that happened, and what happened when it did happen, it was so grotesque in a sense that the mainstream media didn't cover it, and that's part of the story. Is that people weren't talking about it, which is shocking because it's something that needed to be talked about. It needed a light shined on it, and we shine a light in doing the film, and so far we're still in the dark. We haven't gotten it out there for people to see, and I think it's important that it gets out there.
Just in a general sense, looking through your IMDb list, there's, I don't know.
Dog,
how many?
Christmas.
This is right. That's where I was going to go. Right, you're the dog guy and you're the Christmas guy. Talk about those if you will.
Well, let me say this. People, I think Michael Caine said it really well once. They asked him, I think he was up for an Oscar for like The French Connection, or maybe he won it or something, and then he goes and does like Dirty Rotten Scoundrels or something like that. And they're like, why would you go from playing this character in this film to this? And he said, because I'm an actor, and that's my job. And that's the truth, so you do the different roles and different things because that's your job. Now for me, the last 17 years have been very specific in my career. is that I won't leave California. And I won't because I'm a single father, and I have full custody of my son, and I won't leave him. I've turned down more television shows, more series, more films than I can shake a stick at because I won't do it. I'll do 3 dog movies to stay in Los Angeles. And I'm there. I wake up Christmas morning with my son. I'm there with him all the time. I drive him to school, I pick him up. And so I was able to balance that with being a father. And, you know, it's funny because people love to pick on you for your different roles. Or, listen, you know, if those guys want to get out and pay my mortgage, they're happy to. Go ahead.
Right.
You go ahead. But, you know, there's different roles you have to take. And I believe, and I've always believed, that a career is really made on hits. People don't really care how many great movies you've done or poor movies. If you do something that really sticks with everybody, you play a character like Superman, or you play a character like Ross from Friends, or something like that. If you get something that hits, you got that. If you do Deadpool, you know, which I loved, by the way, my favorite superhero film of it was 2016, right? It came out in 2016, without a doubt. That was amazing. Ryan Reynolds, you know, people don't realize he did Van Wilder, or they don't care. He's Deadpool now, and that's the thing. They don't care about when he was in the green tight. That was so funny. Come on, please don't make the super suit green. I mean, that stuff was just hysterical, and not animated. Whatever. So that stuff was it's just hysterical. And so I think careers are made on hits. So for me, I still look at it like now. My son is almost 17. He can drive. He doesn't hang out with me as much. It sucks being a parent. And so I can certainly look into, for the first time ever this year, I can be open to doing something outside of California. So it's interesting. So I expect to see something happen, you know, in the new year.
What's the biggest stretch for you as a role that you've had, do you think? The most work to get into that character?
Well, it's so hard to say. I mean, when you're doing people think it's easy to play like a superhero, to play Superman. To play the good guy is really, really difficult. It is very difficult. It's more difficult than being the bad guy. I love being bad guys. Bad guys are great fun. Being the bad guy opposite Denzel Washington in Out of Time was amazing, but it was easier than playing his character.
Right.
You know, and that's great fun. I did a film called The Way Home, which dealt with parents losing track of their 3-year-old, and he wandered off in this big ranch they have, and we shot the whole thing on their ranch. And to be in that headspace for 5 weeks, that was terrible.
What was your role there?
My role, I played the father who was, you know, he was a good dad, but he wasn't really that present. And they had three other kids, 2 other kids, and he just was paying more attention to his phone or something else than his kid. His kid wandered off, and they had to. That first one was like, the kid walked. You know, if you're a parent and you turn your back for a second, and you're like, where did my kid go? And you turn around, and it's just shocking. They could just be gone. Then you start worrying about, did they go somewhere? Did someone grab them? And you have all those things. And then you're this tremendous guilt as a parent. And you've all been there if you're a parent. And that's what happened with this family. And they lost the kid for like 9-10 hours. And they were looking everywhere. They were dredging, you know, ponds and things. Then this little community, everybody shut down like their stores. They shut down. Everybody just kept showing up, and he wasn't asking for them to do that. And it's like the end of It's a Wonderful Life, you know, when everybody just shows up to help. I cried like a baby. I cried like a baby every time I watched that movie, but that's what this film was like. I mean, that was what it was like, and so it was a real tough headspace to be in, because it all took place during one day. So every day I showed up to work, I had to be in that my kid is missing place, and that wasn't fun. I don't know if that was the biggest stretch, but it was certainly one of the tougher roles to have it day in, day out.
Well, let's open up to the audience and see what you guys want to know that we haven't covered.
Let's see.
Dean, you want to do the picking? Go ahead.
Chris. Yes.
Is there a mic you can bring to the audience, guys? Or
I bet
so everybody.
Go ahead, Chris. I'll repeat the question. Who do I want to play in the future? Well, Deadpool is taken, so I can't do that. Isn't he good as Deadpool? I mean, am I crazy? He's like made to play that role. You know what? I shot one Western, and that was really fun. So I would not be upset if I were able to do another Western or 2. That would be great fun. I don't know. I look at some of these shows on TV now that I think are fun. Some of these NCIS type shows, they look like a lot of fun. I don't have a particular character that I want to play, but I still look at my career. Maybe I'm naive, but I look at my career like it's in its infancy. I still think I'm very young, Chris. And I know you're only 11. which happens to be my favorite number. We talked about that. But I would like to think that I have a whole giant career beyond this, and I'm wide open to whatever happens to be.
Did you do a Criminal Minds?
I did do a Criminal Mind.
I bet you were a bad guy.
Everybody who guest stars in Criminal Minds is a bad guy.
How bad were you? What did you do?
It was called Snake Eyes, and I figured out he was a gambler, and he figured out that whenever someone close to him dies, he does really well in the gambling world. So he started knocking off people close to him and gambling. It was awesome.
How'd that work out for him?
It didn't work out well in the end.
No, ultimately
No, he crapped out there. Rolled a 7, and it didn't work out at all. But that was fun.
Yes, go ahead.
Good afternoon, Dean. Welcome to Wilmington. My name is Frank.
Thank you, Frank. Thank you much.
Just curious, in the audition process, you auditioned for Superman, so was it a lot of physical, rigorous auditioning? And did you do your own stunts?
That is a good question. Hold on a second. Look at that. He asked how the auditioning process, whether it was rigorous or not. The auditioning process for Superman, whether it was rigorous, physical, and did I do my own stunts? They knew just by looking at my resume and things that I was a professional football player. They knew that I was very physical coming in. So they didn't ask me to do anything physical. I wish they had. I'd have been really comfortable with that. I'm like, sweet, let's do it. But no, they just looked at your body type and stuff. They actually wanted me to bulk up. I was skinnier. They wanted me to get They wanted to get more muscly, so they knew I was physical. And I mean, Kevin was incredibly physical too. So the guys that were coming in were pretty physical. And so that wasn't really a question at that point. I think that if you weren't, you were weeded out pretty early. As far as doing my own stunts, I did a lot of my own stunts. Lincoln Simons, who was one of my main stunt guys, it was funny because he was good 3 inches shorter than me and maybe a little less athletic. So there were times, and I wrote one episode in particular, which was really stunt heavy, that I wrote, and he had to run down a full bore down a street because it was without his superpowers, and he had to jump onto a little mini trampoline and get up to hold onto a pole, like a flagpole, but the flagpole was a good 15 feet in the air. It was way up there. He couldn't get it. I was finding like Wally Crowder was our stunt recorder. I go, Walt, just let me do it. You know I'm gonna do it. And then he's like, Lincoln, you missed this one, Dean's gonna do it. Lincoln missed it. I came in the next take and just skied up and got the thing. So Lincoln told me if I ever did that again, he'd break my ankle. But whenever it was a real stunt, when it was anything that was really dangerous, Lincoln would do that stuff, like getting thrown through a window and stuff like that, which is really, the stunt teams are amazing, and the whole idea behind doing a stunt in Hollywood is that it's not dangerous, and they really, really like to engineer that to the nth degree. There's always a degree of danger. I did a lot of the fight scene stuff. I would do things, it'd be a double to do it, but you'd do it as well. It's the same thing now, even when I have fight scenes in any movie. I've never been able to be animated, so I'm always having to do